All right, y'all. We're back on the Bagland Podcast. It's been a while. We're going to get right into it. We got a lot of hot topics to discuss tonight. This is an interesting clip that I heard, and I thought it was very, very interesting here. Now, this was on MSNBC, which are losing viewers left and right. They're getting ready to crumble. And the reason why they're crumbling is because they thought that they were going to get another win. They thought they were going to have another 4 years where they could keep shaming black folks to vote, and they lost. And it wasn't just the fact that a lot of black folks didn't get up and vote a couch. You had 70% Latino voters that went out for Trump because a lot of them vote Republican after about 2 to 3 years of legal citizenship. And I want you to hear what Joe Biden had to say.
This conversation, the words of Joe Biden in his farewell to the nation, in which he talked about planting seeds. Let's take a listen.
It will take time to feel the full impact of all we've done together. But the seeds are planted, and they'll grow and they'll bloom for decades to come.
So, as a nation, we have an opportunity to plant
What the hell is he talking about, seeds to plant it? What does he mean by that? When you heard that, well, what do you think he means by that?
Well, what I think he means by that is the fact that he's been deemed by whoever the powers are in the Democratic Party to not be mentally fit to run for president. That's what that sounds like to me. It sounds like somebody that ain't mentally fit. It ain't making sense.
He was very vague.
Why are we listening? Why are we giving a guy a microphone the Democratic Party said this man is not fit to run for office. We would rather have Kamala Harris, the person during the Democratic primaries 4 or 5 years ago got the lowest votes ever for a Democratic nominee. We're going to pick her because we feel that you're nuts. Did you see any of the debates with him and Trump?
Oh, yeah. I did.
So why would you ask me? Why would you ask me what that sounded like? That sounded like an old man that don't know what he's talking about, just putting words together. That's on America. Now, here's something I've really been seeing, man, I want to really make a quick comment about. You know, I'm about to be 42 years old, so I went about 39 years of my life, and I never heard the word pardon. I never knew what the fuck this word was. I never knew this existed or anything. Now, every other goddamn day, I'm hearing about somebody getting pardoned. This is money. This is a revenue stream. Don't get it fooled, man. This is dollar bills. There's somebody, you know what? It's like, let's say I got a lot of money and me and you did something and you got pinched. Now I don't want you to talk. So I'll go to a motherfucker like Biden and say, hey, man, here's some dollars, man. Go and get DP out real quick. We keep this moving.
So you're thinking
this is money, man.
So you're thinking Kodak Black basically told somebody, called Trump and said, listen.
No. Kodak Black was Trump trying to look good for black people. Trying to get the young black vote. Who are some young popular rappers? Oh, Lil Wayne, Kodak Black will get them out. And then there'll be fans of mine that'll help me.
But blacks really don't vote Republican that much. Not really.
Well, they did. They just did now.
15%, but that was enough.
Democrats lost the popular vote. Do you understand that? I don't think you've always overlooked that term. That's never happened in American politics. That means there was more people went to the polls and voted for Republicans than Democrats. That never happened.
Did you see his ratings? His ratings have skyrocketed like never before.
Of course, man. There's a lot more rednecks. We live in a city, or you used to live in a city, and I live in a city. There's a lot of rednecks, man, when you get out of the city. A whole lot of them, and they've been hiding in the woodwork. You just seen that shit I just sent you with the Klan rolling up? Where they been at?
They've always been there.
Their boy got in office.
They've always been here. Yeah, but
no, as soon as their boy got in the office, they figure, wait a minute. You know what I mean? If we riding on Trump's behalf, we'll get pardoned.
Well, they had this one guy. He was a Was he a Proud Boy? I don't know how high up the ladder he was.
I know who he is. I know who the dude is. He a Mexican.
No. This another dude. They didn't even show his face. I'm gonna see if I can pull him up. But this dude, I know who you're talking about. Now that dude, yeah, he was high up the ladder. Basically, he was a Mexican coon that basically said, "All right, I'm white. You know, let me get some benefits." You know, I mean, he just looks like I think he's like Cuban or so. I don't know what he is, but he identifies as a white Hispanic, right? So
yeah, I know him.
Now this other dude, he just got pardoned. He was out of the 1,500. I didn't know it was going to be that much. I thought it was going to be maybe 50 to 100 of them, but he just wiped the slate clean. This dude just got picked up by the feds. Well, Trump pardoned 1,500 of the insurrectionists. It was probably like 5,000 to 20,000 of them out there. I don't know how many it was, but he pardoned 1,500 of them. There was another dude. He just got pardoned, and the feds just picked him up on weapons charges.
Hold on, DP. Back up. Wait a minute. Who? You saying Trump pardoned 1,500 people?
Yeah, you didn't know?
And he's been in office and are you talking about the 4 years prior or just now?
He pardoned 1,500 of the January 6th folk. And one of these guys...
Of course.
One of these guys...
Oh, I didn't know. I haven't been watching TV.
Yeah, 1,500 of them. And one of these guys...
All of them.
He just got picked up for weapons charges. The feds came and got him right after he got pardoned.
All them motherfuckers that got felonies, all them white boys that got felonies, he cleaned all that up.
He did what Joe Biden should have did with the 94 crime bill. He did that in a day. He's not bullshitting. He's coming through. Yeah, he's coming.
Well, it's even more direct than a 94 crime bill, DP. These people were riding for him.
Yeah, they did. And guess what? Let me tell you something.
You know what I mean?
They never took them Trump signs.
At least I can pardon you.
Yeah.
I'll pardon you, slap you on the wrist, and tell you not to do it. Don't do it next time.
Yeah, and now what they got now is, you know, because remember, that's man, bullshit. Them folks did not take that down. See, now Joe just pardoned.
People should be in fucking prison, man.
They should be in prison. Hunter Biden should be in prison too. You know what? Who he pardoned? So you were right about the money. I didn't think about it that way.
He getting paid, man.
He pardoned
them. Not to cut you off, but them motherfuckers that was rioting at the Capitol on January 6th, them was people with money.
Yeah, they had money.
Them was not bummy-ass white people.
They had money,
them
bro.
Was people with money. They might look bummy. Certain white people will look bummy and have a few dollars, you know? Them motherfuckers had real money.
They had real money. Some of them were fire chiefs, IT professionals. I'm talking about owners. They weren't no help desk level 1 call center motherfuckers. They were people that had money. 10 of them was from Minnesota. And a lot of them, you know, when they interviewed him, they say, "Hey, would you do this again?" They be like, "I'll do it again in a heartbeat." In a heartbeat.
Because I just got pardoned. They knew as soon as Trump gets into office, and then you have to think that's, as much as I don't agree with it, or you might not agree with it, or your listeners might not agree with it, you gotta look at the other aspect of that. What I've been harping on. All them kids I've seen get felonies and ruin their fucking futures riding for George Floyd. The Floyd family got $60 to $70 million from county.
And no pardon.
Every day more money.
And no pardon.
No money on their books. They couldn't pardon nobody, but you could have put money on their books.
Yeah, you're right.
Pay for an attorney for it. If somebody, my family member died by the police and I got all these people riding for them, going to prison, at least I could do, and I'm sitting on 50 or 60 mil, at least I could do is try to get them some decent attorneys or put some money on their books or something.
You know the only people. Bullshit. You know the only people that was bailing folks out.
A lot of respect for Floyd.
The only people that was bailing folks out was the new black media.
Kaepernick too.
Kaepernick and
Kaepernick, he was here.
Kaepernick and the Black Authority. He had a lawyer. I can't remember. There was a lawyer. If I told you who the lawyer is, you would know who it was. But he had a lawyer live calling folks up in Minneapolis like, "Hey, I want charges." He didn't want no little bullshit charges either. He wanted folks that had real charges against assaults on police and shit like that. He was bailing folks out. And you say Kaepernick? Serious shit. Serious shit.
No, Kaepernick wasn't dealing with the arson and those charges.
What was he dealing with?
Kaepernick was dealing with the, like, you remember when they had when the police would box the protesters in and then arrest them for being out past curfew. Remember when they had a curfew and all that type of shit? He was helping people with that. He wasn't dealing with the people that was doing those protesters didn't get the real charges. The real charges came from the kids that destroyed Lake Street.
Yeah. I had a buddy that went in Hennepin County, and he told me, and I asked him, because I had a buddy that got arrested down there because he was out there protesting, and he was like, and I asked him, I said, bro, I said, who was in the county? He said, there wasn't a lot of black people in the county like that, bro. He said it was white people. That's what he told me. He told me
most of the protesters was white. I would say 10 on Lake Street. I would say 10-1.
10-1.
It was 10-1 blacks to white. 10-1. And the whites were the ones riding. Floyd, say his name. There wasn't that many blacks. There was a lot of blacks rioting and shit, but they wasn't the ones. To be honest with you, it was a white-led thing. It was white people that got upset with that.
Why didn't the Floyd family put up? They could have put up $6 million after they got the check.
That's what I'm saying. Every single human. I would have said, all right, who's all got some real charges here, facing some felonies and shit. All right, we're going to get each one of these people a lawyer, at least to help them out. And if they lose, we'll put some money on their book.
Because here's
bullshit.
something I need my listeners to understand. See, me and you, we from the town. We from Minneapolis, so we know a little bit more about it internally than people would know. When people think of these millions of dollars, they just think the Floyd family got millions of dollars and that's it. No. These nonprofits, remember, Black Lives Matter, money was pouring in left and right. Outside of the lawsuit. See, a lot of people think just because you have a city that's under siege and people are thinking, oh, the businesses and stuff like that. If they were to come on Lake Street right now and they would look at the Wendy's and they would look at the Target and they look at the Cub, it does not look like how when me and you were going and getting the 99-cent double stack back in 97, 96. Lake Street looks completely different around there. So the question you got to ask, who benefited from that riot? Now, the police station ain't up. We know that. But Lake Street doesn't look like, it never looked this good, ever. They got they got a Raising Cane's. They got a Raising Cane's.
That Cub Foods, if you've been in there, that got upgraded.
Man, that Cub looked crazy. I walked in there one day.
Got upgraded.
I walked in there one day. I walked in there one day and I thought I was in Edina. Now, if you go up to High Lake, once you cross the train tracks and the bridge, it starts looking janky again. But that area,
even the other way too. Even if you go towards like Ann Sullivan, further down Lake, it's real. There's a lot of boarded up buildings.
But
it's insurance.
It's insurance.
All that was insured. You think, put it to you like this: all that was insured to a high degree. So that's why he just said, let them do it. Who cares? But guess what? If you notice the next day, when them same hooligans went over there to the Midway Target where they got liquor and all that, they shut that shit down. The police was right there. You ain't getting in here. Yeah. The insurance was different. They said, you ain't getting in here. We don't care about natives or anything. Natives wasn't out there. To their credit, natives wasn't out there, though.
No, they weren't.
The only thing I seen natives, I seen the homeless natives. But I'm talking about the real natives. They wasn't out there. What they was doing was protecting their area.
Yeah. They wasn't
letting no cars get in and out of the projects over there. They had it blocked off.
That's why I told you earlier when you texted me, you said, well, yeah, the Klan coming out of Kentucky. That's a Klan county anyway. But, the people right now that's running away from ICE and stuff like that, and, and people saying, well, black folks need to speak out or whatever. When you had Mike Brown, you had these illegal and these immigrants, they weren't really saying nothing for us. They weren't. They were like, oh, that's them niggas, whatever. They weren't really saying that. Like according to proof. When you look at, you might have had a couple other races out there, but like you said, it was majority white for Floyd. Now, Mike Brown, that was niggas, because that was Ferguson. And what people fail to realize about Missouri, outside of St. Louis, they call it the county. I knew this one brother I used to sells cars online for him. He said, man, when you get outside that county, and I said, what do you mean outside the county? He said, St. Louis County. I said, it ain't the same as St. Louis. He said, no. He says, out there, they lock niggas up if you got a ticket. I said, what kind of ticket? I said, like a parking ticket or some speed ticket? He said, man, you going to jail over a ticket. They put niggas, they making you pay for that ticket, or if you ain't got the money to pay it, you going to jail. And I asked him about Ferguson, and he said, man, you get caught down over there, man. He said it's different than St. Louis. It's a little different. You know, he said they run that shit like something from the 50s. So you had a lot of black folks out there, and it's a decent amount of blacks that stay in Ferguson, but they've been doing that kind of stuff for forever in Ferguson. So when you look at, like, rest in peace, brother Darren Seals, that brother that was going around slapping up the Black Lives Matter niggas that was showing up trying to get fundraising checks and shit, and he ended up running Al Sharpton and out of town and stuff. This was the precursor of Black Lives Matter. And I'm not talking now. A lot of race soldiers, and for my listeners, a lot of times race soldiers and white supremacists, when they say woke, Black Lives Matter, they're talking about black people. We're not talking about, so to say, Black Lives Matter corporate. Black Lives Matter is a corporate. Black Lives Matter is a code word for black. So when you hear them say, "Oh, it's too woke, it's too black, it's too Black Lives Matter," they don't want to say it's too black. So they'll say black on black crime, black on black matters, black Lives Matter, diversity and inclusion, when they're speaking code to blacks or about blacks. Because if you just say, well, it's black, then they'll be like, oh, well, he's being racist. He said, well, no, I'm not being racist. I'm just saying woke. So Black Lives Matter corporate, once those 3 lesbian chicks, once they found out there was a bag, the Democrats sent them down there like, oh, black men are being killed, blah, blah, blah. And then it became an LGBT thing. And the black folks in Ferguson, they didn't know what the hell Black Lives Matter was. They didn't know. They said, who the hell are these niggas? Like, what is this Black Lives Matter bullshit? They didn't really know what that was because they had been doing activism in Ferguson and they've been out there boots on the ground for forever. So now what you're seeing right now, people are belly aching about this diversity and inclusion. I could bring up receipts. The main beneficiaries of diversity and inclusion is white women. They're the main, when you look at minority contracts, minority, that word, hey, white women, LGBT. The white women are the sole beneficiaries of government grants and contracts. You might think, oh, what's giving is going to an illegal or it's going to a quote unquote person of color. No, black folks ain't getting none of that. So now that's being stripped away. Even when you look at the thing in LA, they're mad because they're like, okay, you just went and hired somebody that don't know what the hell they're doing under the term of DEI, which in the 60s was really created for blacks. Well, now you got a whole damn city burnt up, and then you get some police chiefs that's running around talking about, well, and I couldn't believe it when I seen this shit. But she said, well, you know, if the guy's too heavy, I can't lift him up. He shouldn't have been in that situation anyway. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, they should have did the same thing they did with Trump with the Secret Service. If you do something like that, you're saying something like that, you've been hired to save lives. You ought to go to prison. Talking about what you can't do and what you're not going to do. Like the Secret Service to this day. I'm surprised, and I think we're going to hear about it pretty soon. The Secret Service, the way that they handled that stuff, when Trump got shot at, I think he's going to bring them up on charges. He remembers that. He just stripped the Secret Service off of some white dude that he felt was disloyal to him. He just took his Secret Service credentials away. So if somebody pulls some bullshit on Trump, they got a new day coming. Now I want to play this video. I'm still sounding good.
Yeah, the Secret Service that were involved with that, they're gonna have I
think they should be arrested because that was real sloppy. That was incredibly sloppy. Now
it almost seemed like it was an inside job.
It because people were saying
that was white boy. He came close.
There was people that were saying that they had been warning the police, or they told the police that they saw somebody on the roof and the police was bullshitting, or the Secret Service was bullshitting, or it wasn't handled right. It wasn't. Nah,
it wasn't. Nobody even getting nowhere near that roof.
No, nowhere near that roof at all.
There should have been somebody posted waiting for someone to go on that roof and blow his head off.
So I agree with this audio. Then we're going to move on to the music in a minute.
black people here in the U.S. It's time to lock in and act like we didn't been here before.
This is the brother right here. I agree.
Bro, to all my black people here in the U.S., it's time to lock in and act like we didn't been here before. Stop acting surprised, hoodwinked, bamboozled at anything that has transpired in the past 24 to 48 hours or anything that will transpire over the next 5 years. Nothing these racist motherfuckers do should surprise you at this point. We've been dealing with them for over 500 years. If you thought they were fucking bluffing, pull your head out of your ass, bro, and get back to reality. I don't give a fuck about Elon Musk and his bullshit ass salute, bro. The man could turn into the Red Skull for all I care. The shit don't make me no difference. The same way I don't give a fuck about tap dancing coons such as Soulja Boy, Rick Ross, or even Snoop Dogg. I can guarantee you Nipsey or Tupac is not surprised, and neither should you. Let's stop wasting our time with these distractions and bullshit-ass conversations and start focusing on what we need to focus on. Building community, insulating and protecting ourselves from this shitstorm, and figuring out how we as black people are going to maneuver through this collapsing empire and come out on top while everybody is fighting amongst themselves. That's what the fuck we need to be focused on.
All right. Now, the thing is here, even after Trump has got in now, you've been hearing mainly from the Congressional Black Caucus crowd, the Boule, the Civil Rights Generation crowd, the Butter Biscuit vote or you're going to die and the sky's going to fall, and a big ass... The scared Negro crowd, for the most part, they're the only ones that's really going online whining and complaining. You know why? Because they're not going to get paid anymore. They're not going to get paid anymore, bro. They're not going to be able to get up here, the Roland Martins, the Joy Reids, all the Al Sharpton, they're not going to be able to get on TV and get paid anymore. They're not going to be able to use scare tactics. Now, you're going to have to deal with an open white supremacist society where black people won't be the only ones just getting the bare end of the brick. We've been dealing with it for 500 years, so we like, okay, what else is new? We don't really give a fuck. The descendants of the slaves specifically here that's been in this country for the last 500 years, we're like, okay, we've seen this before. So the only people that's really out here belly aching and complaining, well, you got a lot of the illegals now that's like, well, I'm not leaving New York, or I'm not doing this or doing that, and people need to do this. And it's kind of like, hey, when we needed y'all for Trayvon and Mike Brown, Sandra Bland, nobody was really in our corner but us, really, for the most part. But now, the brick and the monster's coming down, and it's affecting everybody. The LGBT, they're whining and all of this. And foundational blacks are like, y'all got to hold your own nuts like we have. You're going to have to deal with this situation like how we've been dealing with it for the 500 years. You're just getting a taste of the medicine that we've been receiving. So y'all going to have to just figure it out. You're going to have to dealing with an open white supremacist fabric and an open... See, now, if they're walking around and they seeing, well, let's say, a Proud Boy, or like you said, you sent me something where... Was this an article you said in Kentucky? Let me pull this up. You still there?
In Kentucky, earlier today.
All right, this is from The Guardian.
Kentucky.
Now, something I remember about Kentucky. Could have sworn a black woman that was naked got killed by some race soldiers. Could have sworn. Now,
Really?
Breonna Taylor was killed March 13th, 2020 by the Louisville race soldiers. Her boyfriend shot back. They arrested him for homicide on the police, and a black judge let him go.
Yeah.
Shout out to that brother. I forgot the brother's name. He's a black judge, and he's not a coon. All them race soldiers were so mad at him they didn't know what to do down in Kentucky. They were trying to get that dude out the paint. I can't remember that brother's name. Let me see if I can find this brother's name. But you know what they were doing? The police were going to because they tried to make it seem like Breonna Taylor was involved in somebody that had drugs or whatever. She was squeaky clean. She was squeaky clean, man. And Attorney General Merrick Garland of the DOJ, Biden's DOJ. Remember, this happened under Biden. This didn't happen under Trump. So let's just get that clear. This happened under Biden. And the DOJ really didn't do shit. Black folks took to the streets down there. The race soldiers had a no-knock warrant. And this is something that Harris and Biden could have did. They could have really charged them with murder charges and hate crimes. And they didn't. Now, what the police were doing is they were going down there messing with the post office. They were going into the post offices trying to get the post office to say that they were doing something wrong. And the post office was like, look, don't send your police up here trying to get us to lie about some shit that they ain't, So they were trying to come up with something that those black folks were doing wrong. They wasn't. And then guess who they got? One of the head coons in charge, Daniel Cameron. I know you remember him. Daniel the Coon Cameron. He was one of the DAs down there. And I don't remember him. He served as legal counsel to Mitch McConnell. He was the one, yeah. He was the one that was supposed to oversee the case. They gave him the case because they know he wasn't going to do anything. So he charged them with wanton endangerment, accidentally endangering the lives of 3 of Breonna Taylor's neighbors by shooting into the adjacent apartment. You had Portia Williams from the Atlanta Housewives. You know I'm not a fan of the Atlanta Housewives. She was down there protesting. You had a lot of Trader Truth. You had a lot of black folks
Portia was out there.
Portia was out there. It was a lot of black folks that went down there, and they really couldn't get nothing done because of this coon-ass DA. He was trying to hide the grand jury. They didn't want to let us know who was on the grand jury. It was all kind of shit. When you talk about a cover-up. So, they let me see here. Yeah, that was in Kentucky. That was in Kentucky. So we didn't really get no justice for that at all. You had Tamir Rice. Gets a number of people. So that's why when folks is like, well, what is Foundational Blacks gonna do about this immigration thing? We ain't immigrants. This ain't got nothing to do with us. What's this gonna do for us? These folks ain't gonna help us. It's only when other people get a taste of the medicine, now we're being asked, well, what y'all gonna do? We ain't gonna do nothing. Just like the Palestine thing. No, Palestine ain't never rolled for us. Matter of fact, as I told it before, where were those people from that called George Floyd when the race soldiers come and killed George Floyd? Weren't they from Palestine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I noticed I'm the first podcast I think that's ever asked that question. Because folks figure like, well, they spoke out for Floyd later on and but he wouldn't have got killed if you would have just stepped outside and told the police, man, hey, get off this nigga, man. Y'all could at least did that. I had to think for a minute. Y'all had to known that this man was getting choked on the ground this whole time. Because you heard all the black folks out there screaming and taking the camera and all that. So I find that very interesting. So, like I say, the illegal aliens is down there in Kentucky. Very unfortunate, but they're going to have to hold their own nuts. Ice Ice Baby. Ice Ice Baby. They gonna have to hold their own nuts for a little while and figure it out.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit because they were brought here under the premise that if you vote for us Democrats, you can stay in America.
A lot of them
They
were
did
brought
what they
here.
were
Bro.
asked to do.
A lot of them were brought here. A lot of them they crossed the border. They came here illegally. Number one. Here's my take on this. Able-bodied men that's crossing the border right now, you need to go home and fight and not flee. See, black Americans, we never fled. We stayed. That's why these people have rights people have rights, and this country is what it is because my ancestors didn't run.
Where were blacks gonna flee to?
That's the
if they
point.
were gonna flee?
Well, we could have said, like they always tell us, well, go back to Africa. That's what they used to tell us after a while. They said, well, hey, you ain't picking no cotton. You want rights. You ain't picking no cotton. You ain't gonna be no slave. Go home. Well, this is home. What do you mean? You stripped me of everything. I haven't talked to, you got to think, it might have been 200, 300, 400 years that I had any ancestors that I know of. I don't even know what the fuck they is, but you telling me to go home. This is home. I built this, but you're telling me to go home. We should have told them, you go home, white immigrant. You go home, because you're really not from here, number one. You came as an immigrant. Irish, Italian, Polish. You go home. But then they became white eventually. After about 30, 40 years, they all said, well, you know, we ain't European no more. We white. But we fought. Every war, every battle, created civil rights laws, all of that. Now, if they're already here paying taxes, you can't deport everybody. So if you've been here 20, 30 years, I don't know. I don't see the point. You know, if they round them up, they round them up. But if you're an able-bodied man, fresh off the boat of Mexico, and it be a lot of able-bodied dudes, you go and fight. Just like this sister right here. I got respect for her. Let me pull this article up. There's this lady in Venezuela being charged against the government. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up real quick. See, you didn't hear about these headlines. I got respect for her. Venezuela's opposition leader defies Maduro to lead protests that end in confusing arrest claims. Venezuelan opposition leader Machado Age says she was detained Thursday, followed moments later by official denials of her arrest in a confusing episode that capped a day of protests seeking to block President Nicolas Maduro from clinging to power. She's down in Venezuela, one of the most dangerous places in South America left and right, that Kamala Harris and all of them were trying to bring all these folks over. She's in Caracas, Venezuela. She didn't flee. She stayed. She wasn't a coward. She stayed and fought for her people in Venezuela, and she's still there. So she said that they kidnapped her. Right here in this article, it says in recent years, the word kidnapping has been associated with the government practice of detaining real or perceived opponents without following the law. You don't hear her whining and complaining. You got grown-ass men that's fleeing their country. They didn't stay and fight. And they want to come over here and tell us that we should have to pay? The Democrats, you're telling them the Democrats promised them to come over here. And the foundation of blacks are supposed to be on their side to say, well, hey, come use our resources. Fuck the kids in Chicago. My aunt and uncles can't get no damn benefits, but we supposed to back that. We supposed to break our backs for that, but we can't even get no benefits. I go to get a grant loan, a business loan, and they saying, nigga, we can't get nothing to you. Somebody been here 5 minutes, they could come and get it. $10,000 EBT. Hey, y'all got to figure this out. We had to fight for the last 90 years to get what little position that we got in America that people try to take away every 5 minutes. This whole DEI thing is supposed to be based on black folk. Other people ain't supposed to be receiving this affirmative action bullshit. And now it's stripped away and they're like, well, you black folks, you gonna get ate by Jonah the whale. It's like, what? We haven't been benefiting for this for damn near 50 years. So what is folks getting afraid of? See, what I learned is this is what the Democrat Party does. I got hot sauce in my bag. Is it working? I got hot sauce in my bag, Charlamagne. Is it working?
That was a very telling. That's exactly how the Democratic Party looks at black people.
The Republicans say, nigga, I ain't got no hot sauce. I ain't got nothing for you. I might break off a few coons here and there. If you notice, the Republican Party, they don't have that many. They have some black folks in the party, but they don't have that many. They'll break them off a biscuit here and there. You'll get Cameron. You'll get that one Sambo nigga from, I don't know where he's from. He's from the Caribbean, talking about he's calling Trump daddy now. You get a nigga like that. You might get a, you'll get a Candace Owens. You'll get something like that. And then they might give them a little show. And what they'll do is they'll say, well, they'll have them use points like black on black crime. You Negroes don't need no reparations. Pull up your bootstraps, and then they might, every now and then they might say something like, oh, Dr. King, like I showed you that tweet that the feds put. And when you look at the tweet, folks is just clowning them. It's like probably 1,000, like 1,500 to 4,000 comments, people clowning them like, nigga, you killed Dr. King. The fuck is you talking about happy anniversary to Dr. King? Nigga, y'all, COINTELPRO, J. Edgar Hoover, y'all had an entire, this is another thing too, bro. Did you know that not just the Dr. Kings and the Medgar Evers, but the folks like James Brown and a lot of our jazz singer greats, all of our black American freedmen that were jazz singers and greats and people that, because some of those folks put money in the movement. But folks like James Brown put in work. They weren't just dancing. Some of these folks put in work for real. Like they put money up. They put bags up, bailed people out of jail, all that type of shit. It wasn't just the music class that bailed folks out of jail. It was riding and stuff like that. A lot of them was the underbelly. For example, we'll get into that in a minute, but like you'll get a dude like Harry O. He might be a heroin nigga with a Cadillac or some shit in Harlem or some shit like that. But he'll put some money up for King marching or something like that, or bailing folks out of jail, because you got to think, people like Malcolm and King, they didn't have a lot of money. Being a revolutionary and standing up and not being a tap dancing coon, that didn't really pay. It doesn't pay to be a coon. It doesn't really, to not be a coon. It doesn't really pay to not be a coon. That's not a high paid position. You don't get paid to be a revolutionary and stand for black empowerment. That doesn't pay. Doing the opposite pays. So they didn't have a lot of money to bail themselves out of jail a lot of times. Sometimes the judge just wouldn't let them out. So you had to have some gangsters and some people that actually put in some work. The Deacons of Defense, they weren't people on a microphone. Those were some brothers and sisters. Those were some brothers down there in Louisiana that really started getting at the race soldiers. I finally got a pic. I was telling you the other day, I went to Chicago to bury my aunt. And I got to actually lay eyes on the woman that I told you before, the one, my great-great-grandmother that was in Mississippi, that they said ran the sheriff off and basically said, if you come up on my land, I'm going to blow you away. You had a lot of black folks down there that was like that. My folks, I found out that they were from Carolina, by way of Mississippi, but Carolina, they were in the Carolinas. Somebody lynched one of our family members. And one of our family members put the belt on the race soldier and got up out of town. Now, usually what happened around them days is if a black person killed a white person, the other black people would suffer around the area. They'll start doing stuff to other black people, but they was doing stuff to us anyway. But yeah, sometimes they would take it out on other people. You see what I'm saying? So, somebody laid belt on his ass and went to Mississippi and bought land down in Mississippi. So that's why we ain't really trying to hear nobody whining. Our folks had that kind of spirit, so we really don't want to hear people whining about the white supremacists. We had to deal with them. Y'all gonna have to deal with them. You know? So, you know, I think I kind of got off subject. We were talking about, what was it? It was so now something very prominent that you said earlier, and I'm seeing it, that the conservative coon rise is going to increase.
I seen it years ago.
You said that 2 years ago, but you said it recently than that. You said that within the last 6 months and within the last 18 months that we've been on this podcast. You said the conservative coon is going to rise within the next 24 months. And alas, it has.
The voice. I'm seeing the voice because, unfortunately, the voice of the black conservative, let's just call them, is louder right now than the voice of the, I don't know, the average Negro, let's just say. The voices is louder, their platform has gotten bigger, and their voice is more united. And it's got more power because their voice has whites behind them. Because you watch something like I sent you a clip the other day of this police fucking with this black dude. I think it was in Mississippi, and he was like, "Get off my fucking property. Fuck you." Those are 3 black cops that they sent over there. You know, you start seeing certain things. Let's just hire blacks to go get the other black cops.
Right.
That way our voice, and it's not just that, it's like they're hiring black conservatives for police, for military, for political positions, with the idea of we will have you guys push our agenda for us. That way you can't scream racism. You can scream police brutality, but that don't pay the same.
You're right.
That don't pay the same. That doesn't pay the same. That's 100 bands at most. You know what I mean?
Point. Because we still haven't heard. Do you remember those black cops down in Memphis? We did this show about a year and a half ago. It was some black cops in Memphis. They beat the shit out this nigga, man. We haven't heard what happened to them dudes.
What about New York just recently? We haven't heard shit about that. That's very odd.
With Daniel Penny choking the brother on the subway?
No, man, no. The cops
Marcy. Yeah.
tying the brother on.
Yeah, New York.
Beating him to death.
Yeah, New York. You know, I was listening to a program the other day on the Black Media where a caller from that area said he did time in Marcy. And he said in that prison, race soldiers do that a lot. He said, but what they do is in them New York prisons and what they call the mountains and places like Virginia and stuff, they call it the mountains. That's not New York City. Closer to the city, folks talk a little crazier to the COs and, you know, they might put hands on them a little bit. But up in them mountains, up there where they had like ODB and Shine and Bobby Smurder, you seen what Bobby Smurder looked like now, right?
Yeah.
He looked kind of weird, don't he?
Very.
He looked real weird, like somebody done did something to him up there. He ain't talking as tough as he was before. You noticed that. He ain't talking tough.
Humble.
He's doing some weird little dances. His dances is looking kind of suspect. He's all friendly. I mean, he's overly friendly. And it makes you kind of wonder, like, So they had him out there.
Humble.
Man, they humble. See, in Dannemora and up there in them mountains, I remember Shine talked about it. ODB said they tried to kill him up there. Shine was up there. ODB, Tupac was up there. They put you up there to make an example of you. Now, the way they work out there in them mountains, them rednecks, there's a lot of nepotism. Whole bunch of inbreds. They mama work up there. The doctor is their uncle. Their sister is the lieutenant. They cousin is the cook. You know, it's just a big hills have eyes kind of, you know, so there's been reports where I talk about this all the time, where when you get up there in them mountains, when you get off that bus, they call you the N-word immediately. Hey, we don't care what you do to these other inmates. You do something to our officers, and we gonna unalive you. This has been several accounts of brothers that been up there that they just let you know flat out. Yeah, we don't care what you do to these other niggas. You touch one of our correctional officers, we gonna put you in a body bag up here. You ain't coming back home. They let you know right when you get off the bus. They got dogs, they got guns, they be spitting in folks' food, they just be, doing the most. It's their world. A lot of the inmates said that it reminded them of Roots. The way that they run those prisons in the mountains. So he said what happened in Marcy, that's something that's a common thing. We just happened to catch it on camera. Now, the district attorney up there, she stepped away from it. They put her on notice. Thankfully, a lot of some black folks have been pulling up to some of these politicians, say, hey, we need that crime bill out here. The reason why they need that crime bill out in New York, you get the crime bill out here in New York, black folks got reparations locked on California right now. You got to get California and New York for the rest of the United States to get behind it. You need New York, and you got to have California. Those are the big ones. Now, black folks did a solid out there in Chicago. Remember that sister they shot in Springfield, Illinois. There wasn't going to be no turn up in Springfield, Illinois. But enough folks in Chicago started raising hell to where that race soldier was charged within like the first couple days.
Oh, not even 24 hours.
It wasn't even 24 hours. Because, see, Chicago got about, there's about 2.5 million foundationals in Chicago, so to say. Or just 2.5 million blacks in general. You got some West Africans in there and stuff too. When I went there, I'll tell you this. When I went there, because it's been since 2015 since I've been back to Chicago. I went to bury my aunt. I went a couple weeks ago. We took the train there and we flew back. And on the south side alone, Chicago's humongous. But on the south side alone, all I saw was black businesses galore. So despite the crime index in Chicago, you have a lot of black folks running stuff, and they're still getting on the mayor's ass. I was down there and I talked to some of the black folks in Chicago at the church, and surprisingly, I was shocked. And a lot of them were telling me, dude kind of stepped himself in something weird. They were telling me, I think, about the last dude or something like. Basically, they said he tried to play both sides of the fence and it didn't work.
Who is this?
Mayor Johnson. He tried to. These were black folks from Chicago that was telling me. They were like, look, he was trying to play both sides of the fence and it didn't work well. At first, he tried to come in and tell, oh, well, the illegals could come in here and they could have all these resources that the black folks can't get. And surprisingly, the kickback that they got. See, they thought that they were going to get the old civil rights generation back out there to come in and just say, we just want some catfish and we're afraid of Trump because it's going to be some open white supremacy going on. We just want a pat on the head and go back to the Obama days. They thought they were going to get that crowd. It didn't happen. It was too many black folks showing up at them meetings, cussing him out, telling them they're going to get him up out of office. Saying, hey, man, we got black folks down here. We got black kids getting killed left and right because they don't have no damn community center. And you're telling us you're going to shut our community centers down so these folks that been here 5 minutes. But see, down in Texas, they're like, all right, y'all don't want to abide by federal laws. We'll just send them to you. So Texas basically said, y'all don't want to abide by federal laws. You're a sanctuary city. Okay. We're going to send you all the illegals since you love them so damn much. And they just kept sending them and sending them and sending them and sending them and sending them on buses. And it got to the point where a lot of them were sleeping in the police station. But black folks stood up. They did the right thing. They said, wait a minute. They told the mayor to kiss their ass. All the schools and the community centers that you're telling us that you don't have the money to give us. You magically came up with all this damn money for illegals. And the black folks, I don't think most of them really didn't personally have an issue with the illegals, but they're like, well, damn it, if you're telling us to vote for you, and you're saying you ain't got no money all of a sudden for us, and we've been here over 70 fucking years in Chicago, and somebody that's just fresh off the boat, you're telling them you got $20 million, $30 million. So they just wasn't having it at that time. The problem is it was too late. Chicago should have got on Obama's ass his second term. Dr. Umar told us that. And we said, well, a lot of black folks were like, well, I don't really want to chastise him in front of white folks. And he said, what did he tell us? He's ignoring y'all in front of white folks. We didn't chastise him. And we started complaining about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell said, all right, nigga, well, you know, you want reparations? Why don't you ask Obama? That's your reparations. So it came a little too late. It was good that they started it, but it came a little late. It came a little late. So, but now getting back into the Harry O thing real quick. Harry O, what I found out earlier, when you know you were saying, well, he's defending Snoop. Well, Harry O, he's the true founder of Death Row. I didn't know about Harry O to the degree until I sent you that article. This nigga was big time. You don't start no independent black label without no money. All right, so yeah, so we would not have Tupac or Snoop to the degree. Tupac might have still been on Interscope, but you know when Tupac went over Death Row, he turned up. You got to think, he done got shot in the nuts. He done did time for a fake rape case. You know, Pac was mad. You know, he really didn't know what he probably was, he was pissed. Interscope Records, Jimmy Iovine didn't want to deal with him no more. He was like, man, come get this nigga. That's another reason how Suge was able to get him out that contract. Jimmy Iovine was kind of like, okay, just give me a nigga like Drake. I don't want this Black Panther ass nigga. You know, so after a while, he was like, man, I can't deal with him. He's not gonna tap dance. Suge was like, hey, I'll deal with him.
Right.
He hung Vanilla Ice. He hung Vanilla Ice punk ass over to sign his contract, white boy. Sign this damn contract. A lot of people
sign it over.
Yeah, sign it over. See, some people looked at it like, oh, well, he's such a bad guy, or whatever. You know what? I didn't feel no kind of way about Vanilla Ice. Not saying what he did was right, but like this white dude running around right now, we got white dudes thinking they use the N-word and all that. No, hang them niggas over the fucking... Start hanging these white boys over the banister. Get them back in line. You remember there was a day, man, where if a white dude had the nerve to want to say the N-word around us, we slapped the fuck out of him? You remember them days? They wouldn't have the audacity. And you know what the big problem is? We got niggas that's around them that's like, well, yeah, man, that's my nigga. He the underbelly of society. Yeah, he gang banging with me and he drinking lean and yeah, he's smoking the ops with me and all that. So we got that small, very small fragment of niggas that's letting that slide. So, you know, I found something very interesting. We'll get into that in a minute too. But on Spectrum News, there's a 43-minute program about Michael Harry O, Untold Story of Death Row Records. So now this makes sense. Now, everybody's saying Snoop sold out and all this. I don't believe he sold out. We got to keep in mind something here. Megan, Cardi B, Beyonce, they all did the same thing. Snoop was calling other people coons just doing for what he did. But I think it was bigger than that. I think Harry O told Snoop, nigga, you're bigger than me. I'm the one with the money. I'm the one that really started Death Row. You wouldn't really be shit without me. I've been locked up for forever. I'm finally out. Good old Donald looked out for me. You got to think, if you was doing 25, 30 years and Donald let you out, you ain't going to let nobody say shit about Donald, bro. You're not. You're not going to say nothing bad about the man. You ain't going to give a fuck what he did. You going to be like, man, I could have been doing life. Now I'm back out here making millions of dollars like I was back in the 80s. And here Snoop come around. He probably pulled Snoop to the side like, hey, you tall, lanky crip nigga. You would have been doing a murder charge. You would have been screwed if it wasn't for me. I'm the real true Death Row founder, Snoop. But Donald did me a solid, and I owe Donald. You gonna get out there and tap dance and coon and do whatever the fuck you need to do to keep this deal going, because I owe Donald, and Donald looked out for me, and the right thing to do, you step out there and do a show for Donald. You, Soulja Boy, Nelly, or whatever, y'all going out there and do that for me. You think Snoop was gonna tell Harry O no? You know what I'm saying? He probably told him, like, nigga, yeah, Death Row, because even though Harry O's out and it's many, many years later, he's still somebody. Man, look at this.
Right.
This nigga, look, see, Harry O's, he probably has a profile that we really don't know, but I'm looking at this. They said in the 80s, he was known as the Godfather on the streets of South Central LA. Now, you know LA politics, bro. You can't really sell drugs in LA and be safe unless you're plugged in with the gangs.
Yeah.
They don't give it. Remember, Nipsey talked about it all the time. He said they don't give a fuck about how much money you got. If you get a hoe ass nigga, if you're like a nigga like Drake or something, you're not gonna be able to sell no drugs. Who are you? Where do you come from? What hood do you claim? Are you a lame? Yeah, if you're a lame, you can't sell drugs. You can't. You cannot sell drugs if you a lame ass nigga. They just not gonna let it happen. You have to be somebody of respect in the streets. So they say he worked with the gangs and the Bloods and the Crips and the Colombian cartel. Drug trafficking, bringing in $2 million a day. So starting Death Row probably wasn't nothing. But when he got busted for attempted murder, a lot of times they'll do that to get niggas off the street when they can't bust them for drugs. So it says, Harris teamed up with Suge Knight to co-found Death Row. The label helped launch careers of Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Tupac. Now look, I might have my ideas on Snoop. I might have my ideas on Suge. People might say whatever they could say, but you know what? We have to look at it like this. This was the first label that actually had some power far as blacks. We got to give them some credit for that. We got to give Suge and them some credit for that, man. Because Suge was basically coming in, even if he was bullying folks, he was going in them white folks' rooms telling them, you're not going to give me the fucking Kunta Kinte treatment. You're not going to give me the Toby treatment, nigga. You're going to give me the Michael Jackson deal.
Yeah, but the thing is you keep saying the key phrase, give me.
Me.
Suge Knight, from what I see from the outside perspective of how he was moving, he was benefiting him.
He was benefiting him, but he did knock the doors down.
He wasn't caring about the race, the culture. He wasn't caring about any of that shit. He cared about him.
He looked out for some people. He did not look out. There were some people he had to look out for certain people because he had hired Bloods.
Dame Dash could say that.
You're okay. Now let's go over to Dame. Now people have a lot to say about Dame.
He could say he tried to do something for the culture. Where I get square with Dame is just I don't respect men that owe child support. You know, yeah, you want to floss. That's my only issue with him. But as far as like, he really did what you talking about, trying to promote his culture and trying to.
Well, the child support, they can say you owe whatever when you owe. If you go broke, I got $1 million, I get you. But if I got $1 million, bro, and like I was just watching this article where he was talking about the tax thing. Fat Joe got in trouble for the same thing. That's why he went to prison. Tax evasion or some shit like that. These accountants, and there should be a new law. I hope Donald Trump does it. There should be a new law where accountants are held and being responsible. Accountants need to be responsible. If you pay them the $1 million to pay your taxes, but they can't be held accountable, bro. They can't. You're held accountable. Now, I pay you to do my taxes, and I give you the $1 million, and then let's say a lot of times what they do is they pocket it or whatever like that. That happened with Wesley Snipes. That happened with Fat Joe, to his credit. It happens to, a lot of black folk. And Fat Joe ain't black, but we'll just for the sake of being hip hop niggas and black celebrities, whatever.
It's on you, though. You have to, because they have to do it that way, because if the IRS don't, every motherfucker that has an issue is going to go back and forth and say, oh, man, the accountant, this and that. So
if I filed my taxes on TurboTax, where is the line drawn where accountants could basically really get steal money and get away with it, and they don't have any kind of there's no oversight.
They're happy because they're not. The IRS is not going to play around with their accountability. You see what I'm saying? They're not gonna. They don't care about passing the buck.
Why should I hire an accountant? Why don't I just do it myself? I mean, I know I'm busy. I'm a millionaire. I don't got time. But why even hire these motherfuckers?
You could stay on them and be like, hey man, did you get that done? Let me see the invoice that you did it.
You come on, bro. You know you know what he's gonna say. Yeah, Mrs. Solomon. Yeah, I did it. You know, here go the invoice. You looking at it.
Because what a guy like Fat Joe did is just paid him and said, oh, it's done, and just kept it moving. You got to look into it. Hey, you get that done? All right, let me get all that paperwork that's saying that you did it and this is what you did. Then you could present that to the court. That's a different story. What these guys like Fat Joe are doing is they're paying somebody to do their taxes and then they're just blindly walking away.
Here's why I like Dame.
That's why shit is fucked up. Because y'all stay trying to do that. Y'all should have called Damon Dash and said, and you want the whole fucking thing to hear it? Keep the door open. I don't give a fuck.
See, here's the thing. What's that one dude, Leor? Some dude, he was talking real slick.
No, he wasn't in that meeting.
But one of them dudes, he's a Jewish guy. Basically, I think it was Charlemagne, or it was somebody that asked him a question like, hey man, all these rappers talking about doing drill and shit happening and whatever like that. Don't you think you should have, the label should have some kind of responsibility? He's basically like, man, I gotta get a check. So remember when you were asking me about Jive? Well, how could Jive let R. Kelly do this, do that? This nigga couldn't read. They're looking at this nigga like, oh man, we gon' this little weird molested nigga. This nigga about 18, 19 years old with the mind of a 7-year-old, and he could play and write his ass off and write these songs on the fly. They like, man, look, he's for the taking. He's for the taking. This nigga doing random shit like this. Now look, this is in Ethiopia. This nigga doing random shit like this. This is how much this nigga can freestyle and do a song.
Your passport, did you get your shots? Girl, would you like to come back with Rob to America?
If you seen the look on this nigga's face, you could see something's up with him. Something's wrong with him, bro. If I send you this video and gets at the 16-second mark,
clearly has mental health.
Something's wrong with him, but he's talented as fuck. You're a white man, and you're like, man, I can break this nigga. This nigga.
What do you mean by break him? They had nothing to do with all that sexual.
Bro, let me tell you, they knew what they had when they signed him. They're like, okay, he likes little girls. Something's wrong with him. He's off. He's kind of socially awkward. He could write his ass off. Sign him. We don't give a fuck what he does. We don't care if he rapes a chicken. Sign that nigga. He's gonna make us rich. They're not gonna have.
Is there anything wrong with that?
They're not gonna have any issue over what their artist does until they get blowback from. Okay, prime example. Here, I'm gonna prove it with you right quick. When you really look at the situation, he didn't go to prison until he started losing money. This nigga had lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. The whole fucking Chicago probably knew what he was doing, bro. It wasn't like it was a big surprise. Everybody knew it. But when did he go to prison? He was broke. When he couldn't make the record label, nobody cared. The parents didn't care. The manager didn't care. The lawyer didn't care. Jive didn't care. The whole fucking Chicago, didn't nobody give a fuck. But when he got broke, when you black and you broke, oh, you going to jail. As long as you can pay people some money, don't nobody care about some young black girls in Chicago. Ain't nobody give a fuck about them. Them parents was handing off their kids like, man, shit. You get you a record deal, you fuck my daughter. Give me a car lot. Give me.
Yep. No, that was really happening.
Give me a car lot. You gonna sign my daughter? She gonna be hood ratting anyway. Give me a car lot. Cause my daughter ain't about to go on tour with no grown ass man. I don't care what he's trying to sign her to. He ain't going on tour. No. She can get into the music industry when she's 18. My 14, 15-year-old daughter ain't going on no damn tour. They were giving them away. Man, shit. They're like, okay, she gonna be pregnant anyway by some gang banging Chicago nigga with Cadillac. Go ahead and sign this paper. Go ahead and sign this damn. Go and say, give me that. Let me get that car lot. And the women too. It wasn't just the daddies. These were black women that was handing their kids over. Like, man, shit, sign me too.
Oh yeah.
You know,
There's a whole lot of that.
and you know, nobody really had an issue. Now it makes you kind of wonder. And I'm not saying what he did was wrong. What I'm saying is like, okay, the managers, the parents, they didn't get indicted. Like it was I've never seen a RICO for one guy. A RICO requires a fucking organization, bro. You can't have a RICO with one person. With this Diddy stuff, this is a RICO, but where's all the other people? When you have a RICO,
the other people talk.
Yeah, but you're still supposed to get indicted. You're still supposed to get an indictment.
Sometimes they use the RICO. Sometimes they use the RICO on people that they know are going to talk.
Bro, this is a billion dollar label. It's got to be at least 100 people in the RICO. At least.
No, how's the label on the RICO?
What I'm saying is Bad Boy Records is owned by Combs, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, the engineer, the manager, the guy that when you got a RICO, look at this shit with Lil Durk. They got like 10 niggas and they probably gonna have 40, 50 more. If they can prove that Durk actually sent them out there to do it and said, look, man, here's the money right afterwards, good job. There you go. That's all they need is somebody from their clique to say that. Now, if they all just jump up one day and say, if they do like how Lil Woody did in YSL and say, no, man, he just gave us some money. We went and knocked them niggas off on our own accord. He didn't know. He just be giving us money. He said he would give us a record deal. That ain't had nothing to do with it. We did this all on our own. That's different. But if they're like, well, yeah, man, that nigga said that, you give me 30,000 if I knock off Quando Rondo, and if I knock the other dude off, I get another 10 grand. So they're not just gonna get just the people there. They're gonna get the drivers. RICO, they're going to try to drain every bit of money they can. So Combs, here's the thing. Combs has several businesses. So you gonna say Revolt, you gonna say all kind of stuff. Okay, this engineer, Stevie J was making the beat. He had a girl doing this. This dude right here, he was bringing the drugs. You gonna have at least 50, 60 the people involved in this damn RICO. You got one dude that gets beat Cassie's ass.
A lot of times they put people on RICOs as the added pressure to talk. Look at 6ix9ine. They know they put 6ix9ine on their RICO and made him sit. Same thing with Gunna. Make him sit and suffer for a little bit because we know he's going to talk. He might not talk initially, but once we throw this RICO and we start scaring him, it's a scare tactic. Sometimes they'll throw a RICO when they just want one person, but they need a couple different testimonies on him. Like if there's a RICO involved with Diddy, all they want is Diddy. And maybe, I don't know, the kid that was hooking them up with the drugs, maybe they might want a little something with him. But all they want is Diddy. So we'll slap DP on the RICO, Phil on the RICO, because they was over there, just because we know now with this RICO, they're going to tell us what we need to know. When the push comes to shove, we'll lock them up. Look how they did 6ix9ine. Once 6ix9ine would have talked the first day, but once he sat in there for 2 years, he told them people he told them more than they needed to know. More.
Yeah, Dame.
And if Gunner would have known that if I tell I ain't gonna get in, I'll have more record sales, he'd told the first day. But they'll do that. Like, see, right now, if the police, if I got a drug empire and they're trying to bust me, and you've been around me, they might throw you on the RICO. Just because they know, we'll throw him on the RICO because he's gonna tell us what we need to know.
Now here's the
or
thing.
What he knows.
Here's the interesting thing about what Dame was doing. And they used to try to give him about a lot of... Dame was really fighting for Rockefeller as owners. Rockefeller was owned by Biggs, Jay-Z, Dame, and maybe another guy or whatnot. And basically with Def Jam, they do the same thing they always try to do. Def Jam and Rockefeller was supposed to be in what I call like the Master P deal. What Def Jam tries to do is that they pull that culture vulture bullshit. They hit you with that Adam 22 Vlad kind of. They were trying to do that. And he was kind of checking them like, you ain't in my damn culture. You're a vulture. Y'all are basically trying to take all the damn credit from my artists. Now, when he said my artists, Jay-Z, stuff like that, and that's why I was breaking down some of the sales and stuff like that, and we'll get into that in a second. But this clip right here.
You don't send an email randomly at 10:30 at night or whatever it is at night, the day we all had awake. That shit don't fly right. That shit is fucked up. And on another level, it's not for y'all to go. Y'all do not control any of my artists. That's why I'm asking questions. Everybody looking dumb in the face. So what was we doing? What was we talking about in terms of Jay? Let me know.
So everybody's quiet because they pulled something slick. And he's checking them about it.
What is it that he's upset about? Tell the viewers exactly what he's mad about.
Basically, it was supposed to be, and I probably had to go back into it because you only get to see some of the video, but basically, there was a change. There was a major change that was supposed to be made. They tried to pull some last-minute slick shit and send it as an email rather than hitting him up. And he just wasn't having it. He said, no, this is going to be done right. They did it. Okay, I know what they did. They did a meeting with Jay-Z without his permission.
A meeting about Jay-Z.
Yeah. They tried
not with Jay-Z.
Not, well.
A meeting about
his artists.
About Jay-Z.
About how they was going to do certain things. And it's like, no, you got to go through him. We're partners, but I'm the boss. I own Rockefeller. Is he
right in saying that?
He's absolutely right. They out of line for that. You don't have no meetings without me about my artists.
He uses the term "my artist," right? Mm-hmm. At the time, him, Jay-Z, and Biggs were equal partners, right?
Right, but he had Dame. But Dame to Biggs was handling the business. So you got to hear the thing. Jay-Z had no intentions on being an artist for forever. So yeah, I'm the artist, but you're gonna treat me as an artist, but we're running this as a record label. You see, Jay-Z's not there, so he has Dame running the business because he knows he gonna run the business. Jay-Z ain't gonna be doing a whole bunch of yelling like Dame and doing all that. Dame will put hands on you if you mess around with his money. So Dame is probably the more vocal person because he ain't gonna play about Rockefeller and about his artists. Y'all trying to have a meeting about my artists, and you're gonna have it without me. So that means y'all gonna be trying to make decisions and marketing decisions and stuff like that. We ain't having that. Can you think about this? Can you imagine on No Limit Records? And it might have been a little different, but remember Master P got probably a deal. Maybe you got some people that'll get deals closer to that, but around that time, I'm just saying. P had a deal that was unprecedented. It was so bad for the record label that he signed with that they said they would never do this again. They didn't think he'd be able to pull it off. He had a 70-30 deal, which means he keeps the publishing, the masters, all of it.
They didn't think he was going to sell.
They didn't think he was going to sell the records, but see, what they didn't know was he had that Bay Area game. He knew how to get to sell them 100,000 records to get those records sold. They didn't believe he'd be able to do it. He got a pressing and distribution deal. But once he did it, they were screwed. It was equivalent to you going to Burger King and Burger King giving you shoes and a coat, and you work and they give you 70% of the money. They take 70% and you get 30%. But you work the whole full 8 hours. You work 40 hours a week, but you're only getting 30%. You're not going to like that.
How is it normally? So his 70-30 deal he had, what would a normal artist get?
A TLC deal, maybe a little better.
Which is what?
You ain't getting no deal. You might get 5 cents a record or something crazy. And you might have sold your
So
publishing already.
70-30. So 70-30 is what he got. What is a TLC deal in those numbers? 10-90?
Maybe worse. Because remember,
now they signed this deal, right?
They signed this deal. You're going triple platinum. So you're doing number one, we doing Scrubs. Now we're triple platinum. You got to pay the producer. That Benz you bought outside there, you got to pay for that. Oh, you're flying to LA, you got to pay for that. Oh, we going to the UK, you got to pay for that. Now in your mind, you're like, well, damn, I done made y'all $100 million off of this Scrubs song. We triple platinum. We the biggest song on the planet. How the fuck do we walk away with $50,000 a piece? Because what they got things called cross collateralization and all of that. You might have sold some of your publishing because you wanted a new Benz, you wanted it in advance. So you're looking at this contract like, oh, this is a good deal. You're an artist. Most artists don't know what's in a contract. If I showed you some of those contracts, Kanye West complained about it about 2 years ago. He said if you were to look at this contract and try to read it, it's going to take an hour to get through the first 2 paragraphs. Because the way that it's worded, none of it makes sense. Therein, where is, if, and, or, all kind of, you're not going to know what the hell this means. And if you get a lawyer, if you get a good lawyer, he might be able to do it. But if the record label had got the lawyer for you, you know there is not going to be in your best interest. That's why Percy Miller sat down with Michael Jackson's lawyer and had to pay $10,000 for 10 minutes to learn about what kind of deal he needs to get. He spent 10 grand. So that's why, remember, and we're going to get into that because we got to talk about this too. When the Diplomats came on later, remember, Cam had already been signed to 2 majors before. He had the first album, Confessions of Fire, that went gold with Horse and Carriage with Mace. Then he had Confessions of Fire. It didn't do as well, but it did something. So he was already cracking. So when they started doing the Diplo, he's like, okay, let's do something different. We got the bars, we got Harlem, but we need to do something a little different. They start wearing the American flag. They start dressing super fly. I mean, Harlem was always fly, so let me take that back. I don't want to say that. But they came up with the Diplomats. So folks could adopt that. You might have a redneck that might be like, I like the Diplomats. They're patriots. You know what I'm saying? That was a whole idea. That was a great brainstorm that they came up with. And they said, all right, we just going to drop these mixtapes with these soulful samples. And we just gonna flood New York, and they got the New York by storm. They had it. Nobody had the streets like Dipset and the Lox. I'm talking about the streets. I'm talking about when you go out to Brownsville, Brooklyn, where niggas is selling crack and shooting at. That's what they listening to. They ain't listening to no fucking Eminem. They listened to Dipset and the Lox. You see what I'm saying? So when they went over to the Rock, they had the streets of the buzz. They they know Dame. Dame's from Harlem. He's a hustler. They grew up around the block from him. He'd be like, hey, come over here. You got it. It would be stupid for us not to sign. So when he came out with Come Home With Me, man, that sold like platinum. It sold, it was number one in the country. It was the number one thing. It was almost more popular than Jay-Z, man. When Dipset came over there, they had New York. They had the country by storm. Because we was listening to Dipset a lot back when, you know what I'm saying, when they came out. That was a big thing. Dipset was huge.
Oh, yeah, they had a lot of white. They had a lot of white boy fans too.
They had everybody. Put it like this: Dipset had the kind of buzz that 50 Cent had, because eventually he came later, but Dipset and Lil Boosie. Man, let me tell you something. When Lil Boosie came out on the underground, he took America by storm on the underground. There wasn't a car that didn't have Lil Boosie and Webby in it. Not one. From
Now,
California
Lil
to New York.
Boosie, is this the guy? Is this the guy that does the Vlad interviews?
Lil Boosie had the streets. That's why even when he got home from prison.
Is he from Atlanta?
No, he's from Louisiana. And I told you about Louisiana.
So he does the Vlad. He's the one that does the Vlad interviews.
Yeah, he's made pretty much Vlad like. Vlad was big, but when he was doing it, because Lil Boosie is gonna say what's on his mind. He just gonna keep it real. Like when he came up with the term "hypnotized with hatred," when he came up with that term, and he was talking about with paid in full. I'll play that for a minute too in a minute. But so Dipset came through, Come Home With Me. So think about this. You're fresh off the boat from Harlem, coming into Rockefeller, knocking the gates down with a platinum song. Oh Boy, and then Hey Ma. You come out, you knock down the door doing platinum. Your first year at Def Jam. Now, you already had a buzz. So you just need a Rockefeller to kind of bring you to that next. I mean, that was like his biggest records. That was his biggest record. Come Home With Me. There wasn't a town. There wasn't a town in America that didn't have that song in their deck at that time. So
that's the name of his podcast too.
Come Home With Me.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense. So now.
No, come and talk to me.
Come talk with me. Okay, so look. Now, he had Daz Dillinger on there. He had Siegel. So that came out May 14, 2002. I remember because I went and I bought the record. Everybody wanted that record. Everybody was listening to it. Old Boy was being played in every damn car. This was in 2002.
Oh, yeah. That
so,
was hot,
so now think. Now, Beanie Siegel, he came out with The Truth in 2000. That went gold. That was a classic album. But they came out in 2002. So Dipset, for the last couple of years, they had already been tearing up the streets. Siegel, everybody was playing that too. That Siegel, everybody was playing that Siegel. Nationwide, that was getting played. It went gold. They probably should have pushed it a little bit more, but the Siegel, it didn't have, I mean, it wasn't really party friendly enough. It was just gutter. It was straight street, just pure hip hop street. So it didn't really have a lot of commercial success, but gold was pretty damn good for him around that time. I mean, he had the streets. Now, Dipset had the streets, and when that Come Home With Me came out, like I say, he went platinum. He sold platinum. It was number 2 in the Billboard 200. I'm not talking about R&B and hip hop, not top 20, which is great. But I'm talking about Billboard 200. That's talking about every damn music genre. He's up there number 2 with the rock artists and shit like that. So Rockefeller was selling records off the shelf. So now you have somebody that got a number 1 hit, number 1 album. And remember, I think he was supposed to do a song with Jay-Z, but the lyrics, I guess, was janky. You know, Jay-Z can't really rap like Cameron. Them niggas can rap. Jay-Z, he can rap, but he can't rap like Killer Cam. He ain't got the wordplay and the bars like Cam and them. Them niggas coming through ferocious. Jay-Z kind of, Jay-Z got money. He getting lazy. So Cam must have told him, like, nigga, I don't like the song. So, Jay-Z's probably, he's kind of arrogant. He's probably like, man, who this nigga think he is? And the Harlem niggas is like, nigga, this Harlem. Nigga, we the style of New York. When you think of style and shit, you think of Harlem. Like when you think of style and niggas flexing and niggas looking fly and shit and hustling, that's Harlem. That's Manhattan. That's their thing. So, that might have been a little thing where they're like, well, so he's kind of like, and then, Dame's like, well, shit, maybe things wasn't going well or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he was like, man, shit, that nigga could be VP. This nigga coming through this big. He knew that the Diplomats, him and Jim Jones and them. He knew they from Harlem, bro. Them niggas know how to get money. So he probably said, well, shit, you could be a VP. You might sign another Harlem nigga and make me rich. So he decided to probably just make him VP. So, you know, the other people like Bleak and Siegel and all them, they were like, well, damn, we've been here longer than y'all. But nigga, you're not selling as many records. You ain't selling the records that we selling.
From Harlem?
You said what?
Jay-Z's not from Harlem?
Hell no. That nigga from Brooklyn.
Oh, he's from Brooklyn.
You know the term, Brooklyn, we take it. Harlem, we make it. Brooklyn's grimy. Like, Brooklyn's like, I mean, Harlem, I'm not taking enough from Harlem, but Harlem, they make it, and they say Brooklyn, they take it. Put it like this. Brooklyn ain't the kind of place where you want to go around shining. Brownsville, places like Brownsville, place for like where MOP from, that's the worst. Yeah, you can't come through. You can't come through Brownsville with no chain on and shining. Oh man, I got a new Rolls Royce and all. No. No. That's like going to Gary, Indiana, talking about, man, I'm in a Rolls Royce, and no, you don't do that. You don't do that. No. You don't go flossing in Gary. You don't go flossing in St. Louis and places like you don't. Well, I'm just gonna go down to Watts with a chain on. No. Nope. That's not a bright thing to do. You gonna lose that chain. You might lose your life. It's hungry. That place where MOP.
So what if they're all from Harlem and he's from Brooklyn? What caused them to want to do business with him?
Well, the thing is they knew Dame, so it wasn't like I don't think it was like a beef. Oh, I'm from Harlem. F you. It's just like, nigga, this Harlem. You Jay-Z, but nigga, it's Harlem. I'm Killer Cam. I ain't no pimps, no peaks. I ain't no peon. So, Cam probably told him, man, shit, I ain't like the song. And, Jay's probably thinking like, well, nigga, I'm Jay-Z. I'm that nigga. You should, even if it's a whack ass verse or whatever, I'm still Jay-Z. And Cam's probably like, nigga, shit. Nigga, I'm platinum. Nigga, nigga, I got a song bigger than yours. So it might have been a little rivalry kind of like that. And then you got to think, not only did he come out with Oh Boy, but then he came out with Hey Ma. You know what I'm saying? That was a big hit. That was a hit. That was a super hit. That might have been bigger than Oh Boy. You know what I'm saying? Then
what about the those were all hits.
They were all hits. And then let's go to the next album. Let me see if I can get the next album that he came out with. So, all right, now check. Okay, so look, let's break it all down. They had a lot of independent success, and see that's why, like I was telling you, people like the Tech Nines, the Gangsta Gibbs, the Jim Jones, the ones that didn't go to the majors, or they might have been at the majors a little bit and then went and got their independence. They went and got to a small label. They had a name. So they getting like damn near the Master P deal. When they went to Koch, when Jim went to Koch and E1 and all that, them niggas was getting money. Them niggas was getting bread.
Jim always speaks very highly of Koch Records.
Because you know why? Because they had to pay him. They were getting niggas was going over there kind of on damn near getting Master P deals, bro. Pressing the distribution. You know what I'm saying? They was getting, now you might say, well, damn, he ain't at Def Jam, so he only sold 100,000. Yeah, but if you getting $5 an album, you see what I'm saying? You getting $5 a fucking album, nigga, you getting money. And that's what a lot of those guys like Jim Jones and, Max B and all them, them dudes was started, they were doing them distribution deals. So initially, Cam and
Big L.
Yeah, Big L. Now Big L, he was doing his stuff independent early. He never signed with a major. So now they were supposed to sign him to the Rock. Children of the Corn was Big L, Mace, Bloodshed, Killer Cam. Now, check this out. So, from what I'm seeing right here, and I'm hoping it's accurate, but it says Children of the Corn, they came out, it was Big L and Mace with 93. So this might have been close around the time when you had Big L and Digging in the Crates. It was Fat Joe, Showbiz, and AG. You had all these other dudes in Digging in the Crates. Fat Joe, they kind of just brought him in. He wasn't all that good, but Fat Joe had money. And so, he kind of came in early with them dudes, and them other dudes had cold beats and could rap. So, Children of the Corn disbanded in 97, and then they formed a group, Diplomats, and then Jim Jones came along, and Freaky Zeke came along, and
Diplomatic Immunity. So, what ended up happening was,
the story here is that Cam had met Big through his childhood friend Mace. And then Big introduced Cam to Lance Riviera, who signed him to his label Entertainment. Now remember, the first 2 albums that Cam was on Entertainment. Lance Riviera. That was the same dude. Remember when Jay-Z went to jail for allegedly stabbing Lance? Now, I don't know what that was about. Might have been over some money. On Riviera. Yeah. Cam was on his label. And they had some success. Okay, so now, 2 years after Big L's murder in 99, they said Cameron was introduced to Big by Mace, who was signed to Bad Boy. Now, Mace was signed to Bad Boy. Biggie was impressed by Cam that he introduced him to Lun Riviera. Now, Entertainment was distributed by Epic. Now, Epic was the same label that Nip was on for a little while. Remember, Nip was on the major label for a while.
Yeah.
See, around those same times, a lot of those dudes that I showed you that were on that double XL, it was Nip, it was Gangsta Gibbs, it was OJ the Juice Man, it was a couple people. A lot of those dudes were on labels, and then the labels, it just didn't work out. Or, when you're an artist, man, and you want your album to come out, and you got people basically telling you, oh, you should do this and put a shiny suit on, or let's do this and let's do that, or whatever the case may be. And you're kind of like, okay, I'm an artist. Just like this right here, where Dame Dash is checking them. Y'all don't know shit about my culture, but you're trying to tell me how shit should go. What people like.
No one, you're so to get the fuck out. I don't give a fuck. Then get out. This is not about you. We're going to do something about Jay. We're going to do it together.
See, you got folks up here trying to put their 2 cents in that don't know shit about black culture. That shouldn't even really be in the room. So, a lot of those artists that were on that double XL, they had to go independent. And look where they went. Look where their careers went. Them niggas became millionaires. Look where Nip went. He had the Marathon store. Gangsta Gibbs was getting money. He never signed with a label till way later, and that nigga was doing world tours, getting crazy cash. All them niggas that was on there that weren't on a major, there was a couple of them that didn't do too well. Big Sean did good. J-Rock went over to Top Dog. He was with Tech Nine Strange Music for a while, but J-Rock, Kendrick, J-Rock have been around for forever. He was the first one on Top Dog. It wasn't Kendrick. It was J-Rock, I believe. He had a career that was synonymous like BG. They always give Wayne the credit and all them other, man. BG was the one that held Cash Money down. He was the first person that really sold some major records for Cash Money. He was what I call a flagship artist for Cash Money. But a lot of times they don't want to give BG their flowers. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to do that. But BG was that nigga. He had Louisiana. He had New Orleans in a windstorm when he first came out. It wasn't Wayne. People were always waiting on Wayne to come out. But they like BG.